Next Vice President of the United States, Paul Ryan.
We're going to win this thing? Huh? Absolutely. Man. Thank you so much, everybody. Hey, please, thank you so much. Have a seat. Let's get her done. That's right. Not only do I like to hunt and fish, I like to hunt and fish in Ohio because I'm a graduate of Miami University of Ohio, and there's some good hunting and fishing around there. Jim Jordan is a stalwart in Congress, and Mike Turner is one of the best advocates that you have for our interests here. Send these men back, and please send Josh Mandel so Harry Reid is no longer the majority leader of the United States Senate. Friends, we have a big choice to make. The contrast could not be clearer in this election. Rob Portman went through it all. He went through the fact that this is anything but a real recovery. It's the worst one since the Great Depression. We need a real recovery. Now, the economy isn't growing anywhere near where it can grow. It's barely limping along. And the president has no idea how to grow it. The president has no idea how to create jobs because you know what he's promising? Just more of the same. You see, the Obama economic agenda has failed not because it was stopped, but because it was passed. Don't forget, President Obama controlled government for 2 years. He got almost everything on his laundry list passed. And in the last 2 years, he spent regulating. Here's the killer. President Obama, just the other day, he said on TV that I can't change Washington from the inside. Why do we send presidents to the White House in the first place? Isn't that why we send presidents to Washington, to change Washington? You know what? If he can't change Washington, then we need to change presidents, and that means we need to elect Mitt Romney, the next president of the United States. Mitt Romney knows economic growth. He knows job creation. You know why? Because he's created over 10,000 jobs. Get this. Mitt Romney was a successful governor, but he was a successful businessman. And you know what? That's a good thing. Being successful in business is a good thing. We don't sneer at that. We take pride in that. We believe in businesses being successful because that means more people get hired. That means workers have more job security, more take-home pay. That means the American dream is put closer within reach to millions of Americans. People are beginning to give up hope. People are beginning to think that the American dream's not for them because of this stagnant economy. And when you take a look at what your government's doing to you in every nook and cranny of America, it's not good. Look, Lima, I know you understand, when you have a president who his only eagerness to cut spending is in our first and primary responsibility of the federal government, national security. When you have a president who has proposed again and again to shut down this tank factory, the only one we have, over a budget gimmick, this man, Jim Jordan, Mike Turner, and I, we said no. We passed legislation to prevent that from happening because we're not going to shut down the only tank plant we have in America over a budget gimmick. More importantly, this is the first round of President Obama's devastating defense cuts that he's proposing. There's another third round coming. We said, let's go cut spending where we ought to cut spending, and we passed that legislation. President Obama's silent on that. Here's the problem. If we keep doing this, if we keep showing that the only thing we want to do is gut our military, that projects weakness abroad. And by projecting weakness abroad, our adversaries are so much more tempted to test us, and our allies are so much less willing to trust us. We need peace through strength. We need a strong military, because if we have a strong military, then America is strong, and we're more peaceful, and we're more prosperous, and that keeps us safe here at home. Now, let me talk about a real problem. And of all the failures of the president, of all the broken promises we keep seeing, failure to confront our debt crisis is the worst one. You know, I remember Rob Portman, who, by the way, is a phenomenal, not only a good friend, but a phenomenal United States Senator, a great man who is doing a great job for you. He gave me his lucky Buckeye I carry around with me. I remember this like it was yesterday. The four of us were there, 2008. We had this crash, an economic crisis. The housing bubble burst, everything went to haywire, and we had a crisis on our hands. Trillions of dollars of wealth gone out of people's retirement funds. Millions of jobs lost, still to this day. That crisis in 2008 caught us by surprise. Let me ask you it this way. What if your president, what if your congressman, what if your senator saw it coming? What if they knew this crisis was coming? What if they knew why it was coming? What if they knew everything about the housing bubble? And what if they knew what they needed to do to stop it from happening? And they had the time to stop it from happening. But they just decided to do nothing because it wasn't good politics, because it compromised their reelection. What would you think of that person? Friends, that is precisely what President Obama is doing today by ignoring this debt crisis. Not only is he ignoring it, he's making it worse. He's piling up debt. And anybody who proposes an alternative, anybody who proposes a solution, he goes after them. That is not leadership. That is going to get us a debt crisis. We've had debt before in this country. If you could click the first slide, please. We've had debt in this country before. Take a look over here. World War II. I see some gentlemen here with VFW hats, and I see an American Legion. By the way, thank you for your service to our country. Thank you for what you've done. To fight and win World War II, we borrowed a lot of money, and we basically lent it to ourselves through war bonds. Our debt got as high as the entire economy. And you can do that without jeopardizing your economy so long as it's short term, so long as you know there's an end in sight, just like fighting a war. Well, the Congressional Budget Office tells us this is the future we have in front of us if we stay on the path we're on. Next one, please. This is America's debt that is in front of us. This is the crisis that's on our doorstep, that we see coming, that we know about, that President Obama sees these numbers, and not only is not doing anything to fix it, he's making it worse. We have a moral obligation. Number one, to save the American dream for our children and grandchildren by not giving them this national debt. But number two, by tackling it now before it tackles us. The problem is, if we keep going down this path, we will wind up like Europe in a debt crisis. And you know what happens in a debt crisis? People who need government the most, people who retired based upon promises their government made them, people who are living on the safety net, they're the ones who get cut the first. They're slashing health and retirement benefits in Europe today for current seniors, cranking up taxes, and young people have no opportunities. That's the future that awaits us if we stick with Barack Obama's math, if we stick with his plan. We have to do something about this. Now, here's what's worse about it. Next slide, please. In the past, when we've borrowed money as a country, we've borrowed enough that we can carry it. You know, when you buy a house, you only buy so much house based upon your income so you can afford your mortgage. It works like that for governments, too. Well, in the past, when we borrowed money, we had about a $263 billion debt, and about 5% of it was owned by other countries, by other governments, the rest by Americans. Back in 1990, our debt got a bit bigger, between $2 and $3 trillion, 19%. Look at our debt right now. Our debt, this is the treasury bonds we sell. 11 trillion we're sending out there, selling treasury bonds, and almost half of our debt is owned by foreign governments. Here's the problem. This is not just a debt that we owe to ourselves. It's not my mom living, retiring and living on treasury bills, lending our government her money. It's China, Japan, and other countries lending us their money. And that means we are that much more dependent on other governments to cash flow our government. That is not a good situation. They dictate the terms. We lose our independence and our sovereignty under this kind of a situation. That's why this is a debt crisis that we must stop. Mitt Romney and I are not going to kick the can down the road. We are not going to blame other people. We are going to tackle this problem before it tackles us and get this budget balanced and get this debt under control and stop this from ruining our economy. Now, I know I threw a bunch of numbers out at you. We have a debt clock in here somewhere, I think. And we did have a debt clock in here somewhere. It's $16 trillion now, and counting, the total debt. But what does that number mean? I mean, that's the thing a lot of folks ask me is, all these trillions and billions, what does that mean to me? Well, here is what President Obama inherited when he came in office. And it was a mess created by both parties. Our share, every man, woman, and child's share of the debt in 2009 was $35,000. Now, this is because both political parties made mistakes. Let's be the first to admit that. Republicans and Democrats contributed to this problem by making a lot of empty promises that the government could never keep, and therein lies our national debt. The question is, when President Obama came into office, he said he'd tackle this problem, cut the deficit in half in the first 4 years. Where are we since then? Take a look. Our debt, your share, everybody's share of debt, is up $16,000. That's a 45% increase in the share of debt for every single person in this country to $51,000 and climbing. It's like your new mortgage. It's bigger than a car payment. This is the debt that is being racked up for our generation. Now, we've got to deal with this. We've got to deal with this fast before we have a crisis. We also have to put in place pro-growth solutions and policies, which I want to get to, but I want to have a conversation to get people back to work. This is one of the most important choices we will make in our generation, and it doesn't matter if you're in the World War II generation, in the X generation, or you're just starting off in life. Because we're going to decide not just who's going to be president for the next 4 years, we're going to decide what kind of country are we going to have for the next generation? What kind of people are we going to be for the next generation? We want to be free people. We want to have a prosperous country. We want to have the American dream and the American opportunity be there for everybody. We want to move people out of poverty, back to the middle class, and get people back on the lives of self-sufficiency. Now, I know I've thrown a bit at you, but I've just got to say, we've had problems in this country before. These ones are as big as they've ever been. And you need leaders to be honest with you. You need leaders to tell you, here's who we are, here's what we believe, here's what we're going to do. Elect us, and we'll do this. What Mitt and I are asking you for is to earn this victory, is to deserve this victory, to give you these solutions so that when we win, we have the obligation, the mandate, the moral authority to fix this mess, get this country back on the right track, and get people back to work, and get America back to where it needs to be. That's what this is all about. So let's have a conversation. Let's just have a town hall. How about I just go around the room, and if you can raise your hands. How about right there, the guy in the red right there? And I'll just move all around.
Okay. I got a question for you. I just want to make a recommendation for you. The first day you take office, will you repeal Obamacare and bring back our country and just, I'm so frustrated, and just bring and privatize our healthcare system. The government has no say in healthcare. Keep it between the doctor and patient. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Thank you. The answer is yes. On day one, Mitt Romney is going to send an executive order granting those waivers. And then what these gentlemen in Congress, with Josh Mandel in the Senate and the majority, and we are going to do, is we are going to repeal and replace this entire law, because Obamacare is not only a threat to health care, Obamacare is not only a threat to Medicare, it's a threat to job creation. Look, we can have a healthcare system in America where everybody has access to affordable care, including people with pre-existing conditions, without a government takeover, without government deciding who and where we get our health care from. We believe in patient-centered health care. We believe in Medicare where you are in charge. One of the most insidious things about Obamacare is not just the $716 billion they raid from Medicare to pay for Obamacare, but it's this new board of bureaucrats that President Obama puts in charge of Medicare. 15 people he appoints, 6-year terms. They're unelected, unaccountable, and they're required by law to cut Medicare providers every single year. That means they tighten the screws down by giving providers less and less money to provide medical care for Medicare patients. It gets to the point where they will be providing your hospitals, your doctors, your nursing homes less money than it costs to provide the care. Guess what? They won't provide it then. So when we subject our healthcare system to the decision by a handful of distant bureaucrats, that not only doesn't work, it harms healthcare for those who are in the program. We, by repealing Obamacare, end the rate of the Medicare Trust Fund, get rid of the bureaucracy, and leave Medicare intact for everybody who's in and near it, and then we need to save it for my generation. Those are the things we're proposing. Obamacare was sold on a false pretext. The president said, if you like what you've got, you can keep it. Well, we've learned that's not true. Millions of people stand to lose their current health insurance they have at their job. Employers are encouraged to drop health insurance for their employees. He said it would lower the cost of health insurance. It's gone up, Rob told you just a minute ago, $2,500. It is just yet another long list of laundry lists of broken promises. In order to grow the economy, in order to save health care, in order to maintain that patient-doctor relationship where we are in charge of our own health care, you must repeal and replace Obamacare. Anybody over here? How about a lady? How about the lady right there? How about that lady right there, the blonde lady right there? I just try to alternate
Hi, first,
around.
welcome to Ohio. We're going to send you guys to the White House. But I think that gas prices are completely out of control, and actually all energy prices. And I'd like to know how we're going to get this solved.
It's double what it was 4 years ago. Number one, in our 5-point plan to grow the economy for a stronger middle class is an energy policy. We put out a very specific set of reforms to get us North American energy independent by 2020. Let me start with this. We have got so much energy in this country, in this state. Let's use that energy in this country, in this state, to create jobs, to lower prices. You've got natural gas right here in Ohio. You've got coal right here in Ohio. Because of Obama administration's hostility to just coal, we lost 1,200 jobs last week in Virginia, West Virginia, and Pennsylvania. Now, what we've learned with having a real energy policy of North American energy independence, things like the Keystone Pipeline, look at where we've seen glimmers of hope. North Dakota is a perfect example. You've got the Bakken oil field up there, which is on private land, so the Obama administration can't frustrate its development nearly as much as they are elsewhere, and they have the lowest unemployment rate in the country. They have a boom. What is it doing? It's increasing incomes. It's increasing manufacturing jobs. People are getting good wages. They're getting more take-home pay, and we're lowering the price of gas. I mean, it's a winner. And so President Obama is standing in the way of this. Not only is he blocking exploration of natural gas and oil on federal lands, he's virtually shutting down the coal industry. He's not allowing the Keystone Pipeline to be built, which means that oil just goes to China. And he has this plan for this national energy tax, which he passed through the House, which is to put a tax on all of our fossil fuel, on our carbon energy. His explicit more expensive, not less expensive. Look, that's a job killer. And the first thing that Mitt Romney and I are going to do is we're going to clear the decks. We're going to be pro-coal, pro-natural gas, pro-oil, pro-jobs, pro-manufacturing, and pro-lower prices. That gets us jobs. How about right here? No. You got to wait for a mic. Otherwise, no one will hear you, sir. I'll hear you, though.
You're going to make it up there. I know you will. I think you'll be a great man for us all. But what we need in this country, when you're talking with the way you are, what you're saying is correct, we need backbone in the Republican Party. We have not had backbone in the Republican Party for many years. The ideas that the Republicans come up with, some of them are very good. Okay, we think we're going to get something done. And what happens every time that really upsets me, Dan Hermiller, is they bow and they back away from it, and they do not continue on with their force like the Democratic Party does. We, as Republicans, got to get a backbone and don't cave.
I couldn't agree with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. Couldn't agree with you more. You know, I'm one of those guys who put these ideas out there when they weren't cool. During the Bush administration, I would mind you. Here's how you cut spending. Here's how you reform these programs. Forget about the proverbial third rail in politics. We have got to take on these challenges before they tackle us. When Mitt Romney asked me to join the ticket, he said this to me. He said, number one, you share my values. Number two, you have shown that you have the gumption and the guts experience I need, because we have to save America in 2013. Join me and let's do that. And you know what I said to him? I said, let's get that done. And so, the other thing I would say is, look, I may have gone to school here in Ohio, but I'm born and raised Wisconsin. Hey, great, some Wisconsin people over there. Hey, you can root for the Packers tonight against the Seahawks, right? All right? All right. Yeah. The reason I mention Wisconsin is, this is what we did in Wisconsin. We said, our state legislature, you ever heard of a guy named Scott Walker? Yeah. That's our governor. We said, this is our problem. Here is what we're going to do if you elect us. Then they got elected. Then they did it, and they stuck by it. They tried to recall our state legislature, our Supreme Court, and our governor. And you know what Wisconsinites said? They said, finally, political conviction and political courage, send them back, and they got a bigger vote margin in their recall election than they did in their original election. That's the lesson to be learned from that. And that is precisely what Mitt and I are saying. Look, I can go on and on detail. Here's our energy policy. Here's our education policy to get behind the parent and the child, not the teachers union. Here is our trade policy to hold cheaters accountable, to make more things and sell more things. Here's our spending cuts. Here's our entitlement reforms. Here's our tax reform. Here's our small business agenda. Here is our plan for economic growth, for limited government and economic freedom. And if you elect us, we will put it in place. This is the covenant we are asking you for. That's what elections are. We establish a covenant with the people who send us to represent them. And the covenant we are asking you for is affirm these countries' founding principles, affirm the notion that our rights come from nature and nature's God, not from government, affirm liberty and freedom and free enterprise, self-determination, government by consent of the governed. And these principles give us these policies, and if you elect us, this is what we're going to do. That's why we're asking you to send Jim Jordan and Mike Turner back. That's why we're asking you to send us Josh Mandel, so we have the mandate and the ability to get this done and save this country from where it's going, which is on a very dangerous path. How about over there?
Mr. Vice President, I've been watching our friends on MSNBC over the last several days, and they seem to go segment after segment, show after show, talking about this silly 47% comment, but yet we've got diplomats in the Middle East that have been taken down along with other workers. And I want to know what your thoughts are on our foreign affairs, especially in the Middle East.
First, let me address this 47%, because this is the point that Mitt and I are trying to make. We want an opportunity society, not a welfare state. That's what the American dream is. Now, what our objective is to address the root causes of poverty, to break the cycle of poverty, instead of simply treating poverty to make it more tolerable, because you'll get more poverty that way. We want to get people out of poverty, into the middle class, onto lives of self-sufficiency. And in the stagnant Obama economy, we have the highest poverty rate we've had in a generation. People are slipping behind. More and more people don't believe the American dream is there for them.